Katie Hopkins challenges Andrew Tate's ideas on Muslims. All right, let's have a look at this one.
Some of the best countries on the planet today are the first world Islamic nations. The safest places you can possibly be with 0% taxes, and you can invest your money safely, and you can live a very peaceful life, and your children will not be taught anything weird if you lived in Qatar or Bahrain or Kuwait or Dubai or
Where
Saudi.
do you live?
I currently live in Romania.
Why do you live in Romania? Because
Well,
Romania is a Christian land, I noticed.
It is.
So
it is.
why is that then?
Well, I moved here a long time ago.
No,
And
Andrew, why don't you live in an Arab land?
well, let's see what happens once
you
I'm
just told me
once I'm free.
You won't live there. You're going to come to Britain and probably hang around with me.
Save the population, perhaps. But my point being...
No, my point is, why don't you live in a Muslim land?
I would be very happy to live in Dubai.
So why don't you?
Because I can't.
Oh, yeah. No, I know you have a restraining thing here, and that's pathetic, and we know about that. But you would choose Romania anyway, as we discussed at the top of this conversation, because you like the feel here, you like the freedom here, you like the masculinity here, which I feel. But you wouldn't choose to live in a Muslim land.
Well, it's actually interesting because
You
also...
say it's that interesting when you're thinking of how you're going to respond, and you don't directly respond to my question. Why don't you live in a Muslim
I'll
land?
directly respond.
I'd like that.
Me, as a man, I find Eastern Europe appealing for the reasons you have said.
Yes.
However, if I were to raise my family, or one of my families, or if I were to have to, in a worst case scenario, leave my family unattended, let's say I were to put my children and my wife in a house, I would choose a first world Islamic nation all day long. They're not going to learn anything stupid in school. They're going to be physically safe.
Yeah, it's true.
They can be provided for with staff and help, and they're going to be very well looked after, and I know they're completely fine. I would never leave my child and my wife alone in London, ever. I'd be by...
I mean, what he says, there's like some truth to it. Like, if you have like a family, right, and unattended, what does that mean? That means maybe you are, I don't know, in jail, or you are maybe abroad for some business project or something. Like, you would want to live in a place where there's like a lower crime rate, right? Because you don't want like your family to be in danger because there's a high crime rate, right? You don't want to have like weird dudes come to your wife while you are like absent and constantly like hit on her, flirt her, leave her weird DMs, try to like, I don't know, speak to her when she leaves the house and stuff like that because maybe she's good looking or something, right? You would not want your children to get brainwashed by some junk stuff, right? Like I get this, right? But there's something about Andrew Tate that's actually fascinating because like, he accepted Islam while he already had those restrictions, right? So if she's saying that he chooses to stay in Romania by his free will, it's actually not his free will, right? Because he has charges against him. He can't just leave the country and say, hey, today I feel like I want to move to Dubai and live there. Like, what we have to see is what will Andrew Tate do after those charges are over, like after the case is closed, basically, right? Like, will he remain in Romania or will he move to Dubai? Because... like, that's the thing. And the second thing is, like, there's something called a comfort zone, right? And a comfort zone is something you get when you stay too long in one spot, like your home feeling you get, right? Like, if you live, for example, in the UK and you live all your life in the UK and you have your family there, your parents, this and that, like, and your friends are there, like, it's gonna be tougher to move to a new country. And it's not just like an Islamic country like Dubai or somewhere, but it could also be Japan, right? Like, if you live in UK, you have your family there, you found your comfort zone there, your life is pretty stable there, why would you move to Japan and live a life there when you abandon all your friends and relatives and stuff like that? Like her statement with like living, there should be generalized not just on like because of religion, but also because of moving to any country. Because if you stay a long time in a person in a zone, in like a location, and you're there in person for many years, it becomes like a comfort zone. And some people, they don't want to get into like an unknown situation where it's either gonna be better or worse than your current situation, right? So there's a lack of safety if you move to another country because you don't know how life is going to be there for you, how is your career going to be there, this and that. So some people choose to also not leave a location because it has become a comfort zone for them.
They're going to be physically safe. They can be provided for with staff and help, and they're going to be very well looked after, and I know they're completely fine. I would never leave my child and my wife alone in London, ever. I'd be by their side permanently because it's a failed country. And even here in Eastern Europe, although I think it's safe, it's very much a man's world, and a woman by herself may struggle to navigate it. I believe I could buy a mansion in Dubai and put a wife and 3 children in Dubai, and I could go away for 6 months and come back and they'd be perfectly fine. I truly believe that. So where I would be as a vagabond, as a warrior who travels the world doing whatever he wants to do, who's unafraid, is different than where I would set up and build and raise a family. And I think across the next 100 years, Islamic countries are the best place you can possibly raise a family, first world, if you have enough money. If you can afford it. Not everybody can.
That's
But
also
I truly
true.
believe that, and I think
There's
a lot of these
financial
arguments
risks.
against Muslims in the UK are conflation with third worlders versus first worlders.
I totally think that.
Harrods in London is all built on the first world Muslims, all of it. If they left, the country would really fall.
I think the first world versus third world argument, I think, is very, very pertinent and very clear. I also think it's very important to point out that the Catholic Church did a marvellous job of hiding the fact that it was basically the beating heart of paedophilia for the longest time and remains so.
Yeah.
So, before we need one of your listeners or viewers to point that out, I will willingly point that out. And frankly, I could stab any one of them in the heart tomorrow without a single tear being shed, because they all disgust me in every
It's
single
disgusting.
way.
Yo, but yeah, I get like her point and her doubts, because like, why is he still there? But if you look at like the case for him, right, and how he not only has also his brother and like his friends now in Romania, but how he's also actually restricted from like leaving and stuff. Like it's a tough situation. Like the way like Andrew Tate is now living, he's like totally restricted, right? Like if he leaves the country, if he even can, he needs a permission from like a government or something, right? And he has like to be observed when he comes back, if he can even travel out these days, right? So he's kind of like in like an extra case. If this interview would have happened when he's actually off charges, I would be wondering what his explanation is, like why he's not in a Muslim country yet, right? But from what I'm hearing from like people also in like my comment section, that certain Muslim countries are not as Islamic as they used to be, even because there's like a lot of liberalism and stuff going on there, and feminism and this and that. And I feel like in some years I'm not even sure how like Muslim countries will look like, if they would be any different from Western countries, because like a lot of changes are happening. And you also have like people in Europe that are more conservative and they want to go back to the old ways, like how it used to be in like the 80s, the 90s and stuff like that, before like in 2000 plus like stuff happened and like things started to change, right? So we don't know which country is going to be a good country to live in the future. For me, like what makes a good country to live in, this is like my personal opinion, right? There needs to be a lot of safety, right? Like you need to be safe. That means if you go outside, like you don't have people waiting around the corner to stab you, right? So for me, a good country is one that's safe. Second, there should be some sort of freedom, but also in practicing my religion, my deen, right? So people should not like try to go after me because I have a certain faith and belief, right? Like I should be left alone and I should be able to fully practice my religion. This is like one point. A third factor is, of course, the economy. Like I don't want to have like live somewhere where I'm like financially struggling every single day and I have to like wonder how I can get food on the table and feel stressed out every day because the finances are just terrible. So that's a third factor. And fourth factor is also, can I actually raise children in that country? Is there like a good education system? Are there like many threats from outside that could lead like maybe my children becoming like drug addicts or something bad, right? Like there are like multiple factors, but especially those four factors that I would say like determine where I live. So yeah. What should a country offer for you to live in? Let me know your most important points for raising a family or living by yourself. Like, let me know in the comment section what sort of country you prefer to live in. What should be the basics there for you? For me, like I said, it needs to be total safety so I can leave my house unharmed. The economy should be strong enough so I don't have to struggle financially, right? Like I should have religious freedom, of course, right? So I can like practice my religion. If I want to pray in the middle of the street, I want to be able to pray in the middle of the street without getting beaten up or something, right? Or being put into jail or something, right? So this is important for me too. And of course, like, how is the education system in that country? Can like my children be safe there, get a good education? Are they safe from harm and negative influences and this and that? Yeah, those are like my four main criterias for living somewhere. Let me know your criterias and I will see you guys next time, inshallah.